Okay guys, so this is question 4 from that Access paper that we're going through. So this is an example of using grouping and group totals in a report. Alright, so open up M17 database. We've got to create a report which shows the total diving time, but not including the time to and from the jetty, for all different lead divers. So what we want to do is, for each diver, we want to find out, so for example, let's just take any random one, Christopher Scott. We want to add up all the diving time that Christopher Scott has done in this database. So what we're looking to have is basically a database that is showing just his name appearing once, and on the right of that with the total time that he has dived. So you'll see how we're going to do this, and maybe once you see the process it will make a little bit more sense. So they say create a report, so just to be safe we're going to create a query first. So we go create at the top, query design, add in the tables that we want to use, and then I said the total diving time for each different lead diver. So for the lead diver, I'm just going to use the lead diver ID. You can use forename and surname if you want, but just for this video, so you can see how we're going to group it, because there's a specific type of grouping that we're probably going to be doing in the other exams. Dive time is the dive time for each person. So if you hit run, you're going to see that the different lead divers are going to appear basically more than once, because some of them have dived multiple times, which makes sense. So what we want to do is we want a report that shows just the lead diver diving once, and to the right of that the total of their times. Alright, so for example this TDS 0003, we're going to take 45, and when he appears again we're going to add on the 50 minutes, etc. So that in our report we have the lead diver ID appearing once with a total time on the right of it. Okay, so we don't want something that has duplicates like this, or repetitions of the leader IDs with different times. We want to add them up in such a way so that the lead ID appears once and we can read it off straight away. So to do this, we're going to go now to create a report. You'll notice that there's no query work over here. We don't have to create a new field, and we don't have to search for specific records, so you can go straight away to report wizard. And let's see, so this is where the grouping is going to take, or is going to be used. So we say yes. Okay, so we take across the fields that we want in our report. Go next. We choose this in such a way so that it just doesn't have a rectangular box at the top. So this is a type of grouping, but for now we want to choose one that doesn't have a rectangular box at the top or is grouping by some data, because we're going to do that in the next part of this wizard. So we click next. So now we want to group by something. We want to group by their lead diver. So what this is going to do is going to take basically each lead diver's ID, and then underneath it going to put all the dive times for that lead diver, and then it's going to put the next lead diver ID and then do all the lead dive, or all the times for that lead diver underneath that. So you'll see that in a second. Sometimes you can click on grouping options. It's going to be something you can change here. That's only if there's some unique question you can click on there for that. Next. Nothing about ascending order, so you can go next. We don't have to worry about this. You can put in a title. So they don't give a title over here, so we can just say total dive times for lead divers. And then this is how it's going to come out. So for TDS 0003, you can see that these are all the times that they've dived. For TDS 0004, these are all the times that they have dived. So just to be sure that there are no duplicates occurring, so this should have been done a little bit before, but let's just double check. So there are 114 fields here, records, sorry. You can see we're only using M17 dive and M17 site. So if we remove the ones we're not using, qualification, M17 diver. So you saw we had 114 records, so if we run this, if we still have 114, which we do, it just means that those aren't duplicates. Okay, so this is a type of table where we can actually leave all the tables in, because these tables, if we leave them in, aren't causing a duplicate problem, as you probably saw in the flight example. Okay, so this is our report for now. So what we're trying to do, as we said before, we want the lead divey ID occurring like this, with a total time on the right of it. Okay, so what we want to do is for this person here, we want to add up all these diving times and stick that calculation over here. And we don't want this information to be shown, so we'll remove this at one point, so we just have the total dive time on this report for each lead diver. So we can close print preview, and you're going to see that there's something called lead diver header. Okay, so that is this part, basically this line. So this is the grouping that we have used, the lead diver's ID. Okay, so that's in there. So if theoretically we put a calculation to the right of this label here, it should put the calculation we put next to just that name, and with the total of, or it's going to do some calculation on each field that follows underneath it. Okay, so let's try this and you'll see. So to do calculations AB, I'm going to draw this out. We don't need this text 7 box, we can delete that. Only sometimes we will need it if we have to put text to the left of our calculation, but here we just want to put it to the left of lead diver. So to add up the times, we say equals sum, and then in a square bracket, because whenever we talk about a field, we put a square bracket around it. We want to get the sum of the dive times for each of these divers. So dive time is the field of the dive times, so we're summing that field. We hit enter. Let's see if this is going to work. So we go to view, layout view, and here we go. There's a lead diver, there's their dive time, not in time format yet. So layout view, we can just change that. So this is a decimal form of all of these values added. So let's right click on this, properties, format, let's choose long time. It's going to put it in the form, as you can see, hours, minutes, seconds. You can choose short, but you'll see, sorry, that's short date, short time, but it's going to cut off seconds or etc. or something like that. So to keep it in the same form, hours, minutes, seconds, that's going to be long time for here. But you can experiment between medium time and long time and short time. Okay, and now what we want to do, that is a total. So we don't want these values now. Remember, we just want their lead diver's name and then the total dive time, and then the next lead diver's name and their total dive time. So if we can delete this column, you can just right click, delete. Now all of the lead divers have now been basically put together like this, once we deleted all that information we didn't need in the middle. So this is what we want, the lead diver's ID and their total times of diving next to their ID. Okay, so that is an example of using grouping and group totals to basically, if you ever have to show something for a total for some specific person or object or record, where you can't show multiple records of that same person or object, etc., you can use the group totals and then delete the information from which you did the calculation. So just look over this carefully, and if you need it, let me know.